Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate you being here. This is the 21st Tuesday Zoom chat since April that we've held here at the State Council. My name is Kathy Bryan of the State Council on Developmental Disability in the Sacramento Regional Office, which includes Sacramento, Yolo, Yuba, Sutter, Colusa, Placer, Nevada, Sierra, Alpine, and El Dorado counties. I'd like to thank Cindy Lay for joining us and for assisting today. Alta California Regional Center, Cindy Lay is working with Alta in the employment services, and I'd like to hand it over to her to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cindy Lay, and I am the Client Employment Specialist at Alta, as Kathy had mentioned. I am so excited to collaborate with State Council on Developmental Disabilities to celebrate National Disability Awareness Month. This is the second of the 4 Zoom chat series that Alta is proud to collaborate with the State Council on. I was actually a guest last week, and the information is now posted on YouTube in case any of you had missed that chat. To share a little bit about Alta and what we do. We are one of the 21 nonprofit regional centers in California. We cover 10 counties, the same county region that State Council cover that Kathy had mentioned. We serve individuals who are eligible for our services based on a developmental disability such as intellectual disability, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, autism. We also serve individuals with other substantially disabling conditions closely related to intellectual disability, or which requires treatment similar to the treatment required by persons with an intellectual disability. So my role as the employment specialist at Alta is development and quality assurance for employment programs. I started with the regional center about 15 years ago, 10 years at another regional center, and 5 years at Alta. So I am very excited to be here, and so glad to see so many faces and to see such high numbers of participation.
Thanks, Cindy. It's great to have you and collaborate with you as well. And I'd like to introduce Sonia Bingaman, the manager in the State Council office. Sonia?
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, my name is Sonia Bingaman, and I'm with the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, and we're just excited to have you all here today. Cindy didn't mention that she is in charge of the chat today, so please feel free to share any questions or comments, and Cindy will be monitoring that. And at any point, one of the speakers is talking about something, you have a question, feel free to just put it in the chat, and Cindy can either call on you to ask your question or she can read it for you. I also wanted to mention toward the end of today, I will, not the whole day, but our time together, I will be launching 2 different polls just to see what you thought about this session. And so if you can participate in that, we'll do it about 10 minutes before the end of our time, so at about 11:20. So again, thank you all for being here. Feel free to use the chat to ask any questions, and we look forward to hearing from Jose and Jessica. Back to you, Kathy.
Okay, thanks, Sonia. I just wanted to mention the State Council on Developmental Disabilities is established by state and federal law as an independent state agency to ensure that people with developmental disabilities and their families receive the services and supports they need. Through advocacy, capacity building, and systemic change, the State Council works to achieve consumer and family-based systems of individualized services, supports, and other assistance. I know you're all busy, and I thank you for joining us on our weekly chats to learn more about resources and issues that pertain to special needs families, new policies and regulations, and community supports and programs. Throughout the training today, as Sonia mentioned, we will launch a poll and get your feedback, but also, of course, add things in the chat. This month, as I mentioned, we've partnered with Alta Regional Center to celebrate national employment. And we're beginning this series. Cindy mentioned that the last chat, she spoke about the services Alta Regional Center provides in light of employment services. And today you're going to hear from the Department of Rehabilitation, Student Services, and Career Exploration Supports from Golden Sierra Job Training Agency. On October 20th, we'll focus our efforts to reach out and inform businesses about hiring people with disabilities and what supports there are for their business. We'll also discuss wage issues and how that affects SSI benefits and general benefits counseling. And finally, on October 27th, we'll have a panel of individuals, a parent, job developers, and job coaches share about work experiences, challenges, and success on how they've adapted their jobs during COVID. So we'll hope you join us for the next 2 trainings as well. At this time, I would like to introduce to you Jose Garcia. We welcome him from the Department of Rehabilitation. He's a senior vocational rehabilitation counselor, service coordinator for the Department of Rehab, and he'll discuss student services. And at about 10:40 or so, I'll hand it over to Jessica Conant. She's a disability resource coordinator with the Golden Sierra Job Training Agency, and again, we'll discuss career exploration. So thank you to Jose and Jessica for being with us today, and I will hand it over to you, Jose.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you for that. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm in a little office space here in my home while my boys are outside. So if you see a little head bobbing up and down behind me, I didn't lock the door. Yeah, sorry. So I'm here to discuss student services. This is a service, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Oh, I'm sorry, back to what Kathy said. My name is Jose Garcia with Department of Rehabilitation. I work out of the Woodland office. I work with Candido Cervera, who is the counselor for the student services out of Woodland. We kind of deal with, we work with rather Yolo County. We go up to Colusa County, Sutter, a little bit of Butte, Yuba County. We really don't have restrictions as far as, you know, who we can serve. But since we are throughout California, sometimes if somebody comes from Sacramento, obviously there's offices in Sacramento. So we try to refer our students to the closest office. But at this point, me specifically, I deal a lot with Arbuckle, to Williams, to Davis, West Sacramento, and here in Woodland. And I'll be discussing student services, and I'm going to be sharing a screen that kind of gives some information about student services. I do not mind being interrupted with questions. So Cindy, if there's anything that comes up, feel free to interrupt me. I do not mind at all. Okay, so let me see. Let me try to share the screen here. All right, let me know if you guys can, everybody can see that. If somebody can nod their head, please. Awesome, I got a thumbs up. The student services is a, oops, let me go over here first. What are DOR student services? Well, DOR student services consists of pre-employment transition services provided in accordance with needs and interests of the student that fall within the 5 categories, and job exploration counseling, and I'll go into each one of these in a bit. Work-based learning experiences, post-secondary counseling, work readiness training, and self-advocacy training. So who can participate in these services? Well, students can participate if they're 16 through 21 years old. They are enrolled in a recognized educational program. This includes homeschool, alternative high school programs, but can even include UC Davis, Sac State, community colleges, even some trade schools. So there's really a lot of different students who are eligible for this program. They have to have an IEP or a 504 plan or a diagnosed disability. So for instance, I have a young man who is in a wheelchair and he does not have an IEP. He doesn't have a 504, but because of a physical disability he has, he's eligible for student services. Okay, and how do we collaborate with schools? Well, the DOR looks forward to collaborating with schools by attending IEP meetings when we are invited. So I do get invited to a lot of IEP meetings, and that's usually when I give the information to parents and to students about our services. Also, we coordinate the provisions of the 5 pre-employment transition services. At that point, we also develop opportunities and resources to support student success. Quickly, to find a local DOR office, please go to our website. You type in your zip code and the nearest DOR office will pop up. All right, so more in depth on what student services is. So one of them is, one of the services we offer is job exploration counseling. So a lot of these services students are already obtaining through special ed, through their school, through their counselors. So what I always like to tell people, students, administrators, parents, is that we're kind of there as a backup. We're there as additional information if students require it. We do a lot of the possible legwork, maybe research that maybe some of the teachers, some of the counselors might be too busy with. So we're there to assist. We're also there to, get information, anything that's related to career development for the student. When it comes to job exploration counseling, we explore career options, as said here in this form. We understand what jobs and industries are popular right now. The labor market, we go into that, learn about jobs, job families in the labor market, find out what jobs pay good wages, what jobs don't, learn about what jobs lead to better jobs, and so forth. As a quick example, a while ago, I had a student who was interested in becoming a veterinary tech. So they wanted to work in a veterinary office. They wanted to work as a technician, kind of as an assistant. So we did the research on what schooling was needed and so forth. We found out that they need to get an associate's degree and then possibly another year to get certification. The Cosumnes River College offered that type of certification. After all was said and done and they got their certificate, they found out that their starting wage would be about $15 an hour. So the student was able to determine, I'm going to go to school for 3 years, possibly more, depending on the availability of courses. And when I graduate after 3 years of education, I'm going to get a job that pays $15 an hour to start. So they were able to make an informed choice saying, yeah, probably not for me. I'm going to look into something else. If I go to school for 3 years, I kind of want to get paid more than just a few dollars above minimum wage. And that's what we're here for, just so the student can make an informed choice of what they want to do once they graduate. All right. Work-based learning experience. This is kind of the more popular one. It's kind of work experience, so the student actually gets paid through this. So what happens is we try to find a job in the community for the student. They'll actually volunteer at the place. So let's use an example as in Woodland, the food bank. The food bank is a place where people can volunteer their time, package food, send out to people in need and so forth. So some of our students volunteer their time there. Through an employer of record, which is a third party, one of our partners, they're able to get paid for the volunteer hours they're taking over at the food bank. So they actually get paid an actual check. We do an I-9, we do a W-4, so we make sure there's a work permit if needed. We do all the paperwork with the help of the third party, which is the employer of record, and they get a paycheck, which is very important because there's actually taxes being taken out of it. So they get to learn that harsh lesson that if you're making $15 an hour and you work 10 hours, it's not really going to come out to 150. It's going to come out to a little bit less because of taxes and so forth. So it's a good learning experience. But again, they also learn how to get there on time, do their job duties and so forth. And the place where they're volunteering at realizes that it's work experience. So they're there to learn about work. So are they getting a top-notch employee? Maybe not at the beginning, but that's the whole point of our program, for them to be ready for such opportunities. Okay. Move on.
Hi, Jose.
Hello.
Is it a good time to maybe bring up a couple of questions from the chat room?
Of course.
Okay, all right. So the first question or concern, it's actually from Susie Wexler. Susie, if you are on, would you like to ask your question? If not, I can read it aloud.
I would love to ask my question. Thank you so much. So we've been having a very hard time accessing what has been promised by DOR. What you have on the screen right now is those 5 categories, and COVID aside, I know it's been very hard with COVID, but we've tried to access guided discovery services for my 16-year-old son. He's autistic in diploma track. So he's smart, but he needs guidance. He can't just be sent a bunch of links and say, here, do this, right? I mean, he doesn't know what to look at, what's important, how to process it, how it applies to him. We've tried both our DOR office and through our school district. And basically we get lots of promises about what could happen, but we have nobody doing it to actually make it happen. And he's been qualified for DOR services since January. It's been very disappointing. We're losing a lot of very valuable time.
Mm.
Right. Yeah, and I do apologize about that. What area are you from? I apologize.
We're in the San Francisco East Bay. So we've been working with the Richmond DOR. We tried working directly with the Richmond DOR office when we weren't getting services through our school person when COVID hit. And then it was really apparent that those folks, I mean, they said, we don't know anything about autism. And I'm thinking, well, how are you going to work with my kid? And it was clear that they didn't. It's been really frustrating finding an actual live body to help guide him and others. I mean, maybe there's, you know, Oakland has a really great program that they can offer their students, but I guess it's office by office and district by district.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't speak for other offices. I know if it was my office and something like this were to occur where a parent or a student wasn't receiving the services that, you know, they felt was adequate for them, I would sit and talk to you guys about what was the best way to relay some of this information, because obviously we want to get away from this is just one way of giving you information and that's the only way. If a student is being given information via email or, you know, sent paperwork or sent brochures in the mail and that's not really working, then one-on-one meeting, you know, working along with the computer, doing assessments online together, kind of step-by-step kind of thing. I think that would be the best route.
Yes.
I always talk to the parents, and of course I'm speaking only personally in my office, the way Candido and I, Candido Cervera, like to work with our parents is we ask them what's the best way. Even right now, if parents want to meet with us, we'll take all the safety precautions needed, but we'll meet with the student and the parent. As a quick example, I'll be meeting with students at the Adult Skills Training in Williams, California in about a week and a day to meet one-on-one with some of these students, because as a coworker of mine, Carla Souza, who's actually, I think in this presentation right now, she brought up the fact that a lot of these students, they, even by phone, the information won't get adequately relayed, that sometimes you have to meet with the student. And it says a lot too sometimes when you're talking to somebody, looking at somebody, you know, by the facial expressions or by their reaction. Okay, they're not understanding what I'm saying. I need to be more thorough. Or
Right.
You know, they're losing interest. You know, I can send an email to somebody and I can see that it was read, but it could just have been opened and deleted. So when I'm sitting in front of somebody, I know that they're paying attention, or at least I know that they're understanding what I'm saying. So that was one of the main reasons why we wanted to meet with these students over in Williams. And my only recommendation is to, you know, no, I don't hate to say this, push, keep insisting, you know, this is important to you. This is important to my son. I need these services that, you know, are supposedly given. So talk to the counselor, talk to the service coordinator down there and just say, we need to meet face to face. We'll take all the safety precautions that are needed, but my student needs to get these services and it's beneficial. Unfortunately, that's really the only thing I could tell you. I mean, I would love to have the capability of going down there and meeting with your student, because I love to meet with students, and the fact that this whole thing happened is just really frustrating because I love going to IEP meetings. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the video Zoom and stuff is great. And I mean, it's better than nothing. But at the same time, nothing beats that face-to-face interaction. So I hope I kind of answered your question. Just keep insisting that you're not receiving the services or maybe you are receiving the services, but not in the way that's best beneficial to your son.
Right. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much, Jose, for that information. And it looks like Angel Garcia shared some information about how to advocate for your son, Susie, in the chat. So thank you so much, Angel, for that information. And another question from Sharon Prasad. Why isn't student services provided to all age groups, meaning college students and university students over the age of 21?
That's a very good question. That's really above my pay grade. But if the services right now for student services, which I'm kind of going through, are available for 16 to 22-year-olds, mostly because they're at that transition period where they're still maybe unsure of where they want to, what they want to do as far as once they graduate from high school. If there are students that are 23, 25, 26 years old, or even higher, that want some of these services, then I strongly recommend them applying for our VR program, which is available to anybody at any age group as long as they have a disability. Within that program, and I was going to actually go into that program in a bit, but I can dive into it right now. That program has a lot of different services that could still assist that student very well. One of them is kind of a vocational assessment, which is kind of a career assessment, where we'll talk to our client in this case and discuss maybe the transferable skills, their education, their current education, their future education, to kind of figure out what jobs are out there for them. So in our VR program, what happens is we have to determine a career goal. Now, this is different from our student services program where we're trying to figure that out. In our VR program, we know what the person wants to do by either doing vocational assessments, talking to them, counseling them, or they come into our office saying, I want to be a truck driver. That's what I want to do. I have this disability that isn't a barrier for me to have become a truck driver. I already talked to the school. They referred me to you. How can we make this happen? So we develop a plan for truck driver, and then we help them with the steps needed for them to become a truck driver, Class A training and so forth, maybe job search. So if a student who's 22, 23 isn't available for student services, and maybe they still don't know where they want to go, they're still not sure about what career they want, even though they're in college or even though they're in some kind of vocational school, they can apply for our services. We can do some kind of vocational training, figure out what track maybe is best for them, and then develop a career goal at that point.
Okay, thank you so much, Jose. So next question comes from Gloria Perez. Her question is, how do you request Department of Rehabilitation to attend an IEP? And if you need to be registered with Department of Rehabilitation to get help with IEPs?
Okay, that's a great question. As a parent, all you would need to do is tell the special ed teacher, the person who sets up the IEP, that you want Department of Rehabilitation to be present. If more times out of not, they'll know a representative, and they'll just call the DOR office and say, we need somebody, and they'll have a contact person. If not, I would strongly recommend that you go to our website to find out your nearest office, call them up and say, my son has an IEP meeting at such and such state. I want somebody from student services to be involved in that, so they can possibly apply, give information, and somebody should be available to do that. Okay. And as far as applying, I'll go into the easy process of applying for our services in a second.
Okay, great, thank you. Can you speak briefly about virtual opportunities you're utilizing for placement during this time? And this question came from Danelle Lyons.
In our office, we've actually had unfortunately, only one student. I'm thinking you're talking about virtual jobs for the students, or are we talking about how we're meeting with the students virtually?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, I work with special ed high school students, and we do placements. We work a lot with DOR. Our funding comes from DOR. So I was curious, like, right now with COVID, we aren't able to actually physically place anyone at a work site like we normally do. It's subsidized employment. And so I was just wondering if you've had any luck with virtual placements. I mean, we're trying to find employers that might allow computer jobs, we have all different kinds. We have a few that are working, but I wondered, what is your strategy on that? Or if you know how some of your, some of the people that you work with are able to place virtually.
Virtually, it's been very difficult. So I think it's,
Yes.
it's really statewide. We have had one student who was working for a toy shop in Sacramento, and he was doing marketing online. So a lot of maybe setting up a Facebook account, setting up social media accounts for a business. So that kind of got us thinking, saying, okay, let's look at some of these small businesses who maybe don't have a Facebook page, because I know, well, my parents have a business that's not in this country, it's in another country. It's a parking business. So you park your car and you're able to go and do the touristy stuff. But my father isn't very computer savvy. So if he had that type of business here in town, I would say, I know the perfect student, and really I could throw a rock and hit a student who knows more about, social media than my father. So any one of these kids could say, can you develop a Facebook page? Yes, I definitely can. Okay, let's look at some of these small businesses. Do you want a Facebook page? Do you want a social media page? Do you want just anything similar to that? So that's that kind of, and this was a client that, saw that, was doing that to this toy company or toy shop over in Sacramento. So we got to thinking that that's one way we can go out there and try to find some of these virtual jobs. In our area, we have been given the go-ahead to go ahead and do work experience with agencies, companies that are willing to take volunteers right now with COVID. Obviously, we get the okay from the student and the parent and the school district if they need a work permit. So things that fall into place in our area where students are able to go to work. But I can see where it's difficult, in places where it's completely shut down. And so that would be my recommendation, to look at, I mean, it's really, we're all thinking outside the box at this point.
Right. Really trying.
Yeah,
exactly. Thank you, Jose.
So, no problem.
Okay, it looks like we have one more question from Theodore Walker. How does Department of Rehabilitation determine which employment vendor is appropriate for their clients?
That's a good question. Really, we look at the student and their their wants and their needs. Pre-COVID, we pretty much were able to talk to the student. What do you want to do when you grow up, kind of thing? What stuff interests you? Oh, I'm interested in welding. Okay, well, let's look at welding shops to see if there's any availability. Obviously not doing some of the welding, but maybe just in the background, maybe cleaning the materials or what have you. So we were able to really dive in and look for these work sites that are relevant to the student and what they wanted to do, possibly post-graduation, high school graduation. Since COVID, we're kind of saying, okay, this is the jobs that are available. Are any students interested, kind of thing, because we can't really pick and choose that well anymore. Now, we do try to place students where, if there's going to be a lot of supervision and the student possibly needs a lot of supervision, then we go with that route. So the food bank here in town, there's a lot of supervision. They kind of have mentors who will help the students. So with our more higher needs students, we were able to place them there. There's all the other sites where they're left on their own. Goodwill stores here in Woodland, they were kind of left on their own to file, to put materials, stocking and so forth. So with the students that were more independent, we were able to place them there. So we do look at those things. We try to make everybody happy to where they're placed. Right now, this is what we got. We'll look to see if the students can benefit. I do have one student who has Down syndrome, and we were able to place him at a horse ranch where he was just clean. He loves animals. He isn't near the horses, but he has constant supervision and he's able to work maybe 1 or 2 hours a week. So it's not something where, okay, we have this job here, let's just, which next student is in line? Okay, you go there, kind of thing. We really have to be very careful while placing some of these students in a place that's not going to be, harmful to them or to anybody else involved.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jose, for answering the questions from the chat. So, Jose, I know that you have a lot more information to share with everyone. So why don't we go ahead and continue with your information, and then we will continue to take questions after a few minutes. Is that okay?
That's perfect. That's fine.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, work readiness training. Another, goes hand in hand with work experience, and this happens before we go into work experience. So we learn about interviewing, we understand the employer expectations, communication between the employer and the worker. We go into a lot of these things, obviously, because we want to get them prepped for not only a job, but maybe the work experience job that might be available to them. Practice interviewing, we do that one-on-one. We can do it over the phone right now. Of course, it's better one-on-one. But some of the work experience sites that we have developed, we actually, what we do is we have the person who agreed to have the student come in, do kind of an interview. Even though they got the job, it's a good way for them to practice the questions that might be asked with a little bit less pressure. Still, the students, I still remember this one student who was terrified because they were going to go work at Goodwill, but they were going to get interviewed. And I didn't want to tell the person, the student, you got the job, it's okay, this is just practice, because I wanted him to feed off that pressure. I know it seems kind of demented, but it's a good way for them to say, oh, it's not the end of the world. I survived this this interview. It's okay, and I can do it again, because they're going to have to do it again and again and again. So that's work readiness training. We try to go into all the things and a lot of things that are expected once they go to work, and of course how to search and apply for jobs, which is completely different. I hadn't searched or applied for a job in years. So when I found out that now they're doing assessment tests online, they have to fill everything up online, and they don't even talk to anybody until possibly the first interview, I was like, oh my God, I was able to meet the manager and talk to them before I even applied. And that just doesn't happen anymore. So it also takes some learning experience on our part to figure out how people are hiring nowadays. And the self-advocacy training. This is very important because we want the students to understand their rights. We want them to learn their responsibilities at work, communicating thoughts, needs, and concerns. It becomes very important if a student is working to understand that once they're done with a certain duty, that they kind of need to ask, okay, I'm done with doing what you asked me to do. What's next? Because I still have 4 more hours in the workday, and I don't think you want me just sitting there playing on my phone, which is something we've had to deal with a lot with some of our students. But that's the beauty about work experience. They're experiencing work, and we're kind of letting them know, even though for some of us it might be obvious, oh yeah, I can't be playing on my phone for 3 days out of my workday. For some of these students saying, well, I finished what you want me to do, I figured I was done until my shift is over. Well, that's not exactly true. So even those little things we go over with students. Now, lastly, I like to go into how do we apply for services, which is fairly simple. It's a 1-page application. I know it says page 1 of 2, but the second page, if you see, is just a lot of legal verbiage. The application consists of really just student name, address, date of birth, social security number, if available. If you're filling this out and you don't feel comfortable, well, in fact, we don't recommend you fill out the social security number if you're going to scan the application back to us. We recommend maybe you leave that blank for the time being, or if you're mailing it, feel free to put in the social security number. But if you're putting it through the computer, feel free to leave it on blank, and we can fill that out later. And the way you're made eligible is we just need a school signature, really, from your special ed teacher and administrator. That'll suffice. That'll say, yes, the student has an IEP, the student has a 504, or yeah, the student has a recognized disability. and then just the school name and so forth. Because we're doing a lot of virtual training, virtual schooling right now, the signature might not be available. So all that we require, if you can't get a school signature, is documentation. So maybe a copy of the IEP, a copy of the 504, or maybe just a doctor's note saying, yeah, my son has MS, and these are his limitations, and then we can make him eligible. Of course, if he's under 18, we do need a parent's signature or a guardian signature down here, and they'll be ready to go. What you want to do is send the application directly to your local DOR office. And the way it works in our office, and I can't speak for every office, unfortunately, we'll give you a call, we'll set up an intake appointment. And at that point, if a parent wants to meet one-on-one over the phone through Zoom, we'll try to accommodate whatever it is they want to do, okay? One thing I do want to mention is the Student Services program is mostly counseling based. And what we really want to do is get the student prepared, or at least start thinking about what they want to do once they graduate. So a lot of the services are geared towards that. Post-secondary counseling, job search, figuring out what jobs pay, figuring out what schools are available out there. So we like to hit everything. We like to hit the vocational schools, the community college certificate programs, your four-year colleges. I've had students, since I do go to Calusa, there's a lot of agriculture. A lot of those students want to be diesel mechanics, want to be welders. And sometimes in school, unfortunately, a lot of the four-year colleges are pushed. Yes, you want to go to Chico State. You want to go to Butte College. You want to go to Sac State. You want to get that degree. If there's a student who wants to be a welder and that's what he loves to do, we talk about welding programs. ARC, get as many certificates as you can. Because if you go to a welding shop, they want to know if you can MIG and TIG weld. There might not, I don't think there's a bachelor's in welding. There probably isn't. There's an associate's degree in welding, which I found very odd, but okay. So a lot of these, students who want to be welders, we refer them to ARC, get those certificates. In 3 years, you might get hired, you're making $20, $25 an hour to start. So we talk a lot about certificate programs, trade schools. And then once they graduate, or once they hit 22, then what we do is we try to refer them to our VR program, Vocational Rehabilitation. At that point, we develop a career goal. And like I mentioned earlier, with the Partner Rehabilitation VR services, we try to help the student in any way possible to achieve that career goal. So if they need a certificate in welding and financial aid doesn't cover it for whatever reason, then we can help. There's a lot of stipulations and regulations, of course, but we've had a lot of students. Right now, Da Vinci High School in Davis is sending me all their students. And I'm working with them up to graduation. And then once they graduate, if they're going to community college, if they're going to a vocational school, if they're going to directly to UC Santa Cruz, UC San Diego, UC Davis, which is 3 examples of students who have gone to those schools last year, we're assisting all of those students in attaining their career goal. So the Student Services is a stepping stone to hopefully our VR program, and then we can help them get the career that we worked together in developing.
Great. Thank you, Jose. So I don't want to interrupt, but I'm not sure how much more information you have to share, but we just have a couple more questions from chat.
I think I'm pretty much done. I'll be happy to answer more questions.
Great. Okay, so I don't know if this is your area of expertise, but can you go over the process on how to become a vendor to provide student services?
To provide student services, okay. A vendor to do exactly what?
Well, perhaps we should ask, this actually came from Yvette Baptiste. Yvette, okay. If you are on the line, could you please clarify your question? So Yvette just basically wants to get information on the best way to become a vendor to provide student services?
Okay, well, it really depends on the services they want to give our students. The student services itself, we don't offer many services as far as that we need to have a vendor for. The only one would be the work experience. And I do believe that each office, each district already has designated vendors to become the employer of records for the work experience. So such as a quick example, in our area, we have Pride Industries as an employer of record, and we have FCCC as an employer of record. FCCC, which is, I believe, the Foundation California Community College.
Yes.
Yeah, they are throughout the state. So they're a vendor available throughout the state. I know in Fairfield office, the vendor for the employer of record for work experience is Dreamcatchers. So it could vary by district. Any other vendors, I just can't see us working with. Now the VR program is completely different. So VR program, we can have vendors apply for anything if they're a truck driving school, if they sell work boots, you know, if they sell school supplies, or if there's some kind of training place, then they could apply to become a vendor, so we can either purchase their services or their goods for our students.
Hey, thank you, Jose. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know that there are a couple of more questions in the chat. And given our time frame, we might, we'll need to move along to Jessica. But I was wondering, Jose, if we gave people your email, could people ask you directly questions now that they've met you and kind of know what you and student service is about, if they could ask you those questions in email? Or would anybody like to speak up now for a final question?
I'll be, Kathy, I'll be happy to answer questions through email. Just bear with me if I don't get back to you right away. But I will try to hit all those questions. I do see one from Angel Garcia, which is actually kind of important. And I think Cindy can talk about this too. Can you talk about specifically how DOR works with regional centers once a student exits the K-12 system with a certificate or diploma? As far as DOR is concerned, we work with the student whether they graduate with a certificate or diploma. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy. The main difference is that job coaching is not available for the student if they receive a certificate of completion until after 22. So I really haven't worked because I don't have support employment caseload. So that would be that would be one of the things that I would mention to the parents and the student, is that if the student would to get employed, Department of Rehabilitation can offer job coaching for about the first 3 months. But if they get a certificate of completion and they're 18 and we do the job coaching for the first 3 months, they might not be able to get job coaching from the regional center until they turn 22. So there are quite a few differences. We're still able to assist the student, but we want to make sure that the parent, the student are aware of kind of where we're at, where Alta Regional's at, and we'll talk to the service coordinator at the regional center so everybody's in the same place and knows all the information, so there's no surprises.
Thank you, Jose, for that. And I'd just like to add that every case is going to be very different. So it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, but the regional center does have an exception process where we can approve for job coaching for someone under the age of 22 if the person participates in competitive integrated employment. So please, if you are in this type of situation, reach out to the service coordinator so that the service coordinator can speak with the supervisor on the exception process.
This is Angel. I'm sorry, I'm just jumping in. So this means even if the student doesn't have a certificate or diploma, if they're involved in competitive integrated employment, they can get job coaching?
Correct.
Oh,
there
okay.
is an exception process. So it is going to be on a case-by-case basis.
That is great information. Thank you so much. I just wanted to add real quick. I know we only have a few minutes, but I just wanted to give an example of some of the ways that DOR is working with my son. I don't know if it's a vendorization process, but my son's DOR counselor has a partnership with SETA, Sacramento Employment and Training Agency. And so they worked with us to match us with a trainer there who is doing coaching. And after he does the employment coaching, he is able to go into a job, a competitive integrated employment job where one of the community-based organizations is packaging up food for homeless folks. So partnerships like that, I was so excited to hear about it, and the great work that DOR and our American Job Centers is doing together through that partnership. So I just wanted to give an example that in our case with the partnerships, I'm not sure if it's through a vendor process, but the partnerships is making opportunities like that happen. So thank you so much to DOR for that.
Angel, yeah, it's terrific. And it is kind of like Cindy says, it is on a case-by-case basis, even with things like that, because in Woodland, I know even a year and a half ago, through funding that they had, Pride Industries was able to give job coaching for our student services WEX program, work experience, which is something that we don't offer, unfortunately, for students going into the work experience. But since Pride Industries was able to get that money on their own through a grant that they were able to secure, they were able to assist us with that. So it really is on a almost on a office by office thing about the partnerships that we're able to make. I know in the Williams, I know I keep bringing up Williams, but I just can't say enough about them. They're great over there. Their students through the transition program, they're able to get job coaching through their own transition program, not related to DOR. So when we kind of help out, tack on more hours, they've already said we're able to do job coaching in case you need it. And it's just amazing when some of these agencies get together, because it really doesn't, I mean, it benefits the students, and that's really the most important thing. If we can find funding, that's terrific. But if we can't find funding, then just talking to agencies, to nonprofits, so many things can get done.
Thank you. Thank you, Jose. I know that there are some more questions in the chat, but we need to move over to Jessica. And if anybody has questions they want to pose to Jose, it sounds like you're open to answering any emails. But Jessica, I'm going to hand it over to you now. Introduce yourself and let us know what you're all about.
What was Jose's email address, please?
That will be in the chat. Are you able to access the chat?
Yes, I don't see it there.
Okay.
Looks like he's typing it now.
Okay.
So,
Thank
hi
you.
everybody. My name is Jessica Conant. I'm from Golden Sierra Job Training Agency, and I am the Disability Resource Coordinator for our area. Just a little bit about me. I have a master's degree in career counseling, so that's my passion to help people find competitive employment, to remain employed, and to remain successful in their lives. So it's always been kind of my passion. I'm also an adjunct professor at American River College. So for any of you who are attending American River College, if you take a college success class, you might end up seeing me there as well. So Sonia or Kathy, were you guys going to ask me the questions, or do you want me to say the questions?
Yeah, I can ask you the questions that we talked about. So the first question I was going to ask is, what is Golden Sierra Job Training Agency?
So Angel, you kind of transitioned into this by talking about America's Job Centers. So Golden Sierra Job Training Agency is an America's Job Center of California. There are America's Job Centers all over the United States. Every single county in the United States is represented by an America's Job Center. And because we're California, we always have to put our own spin on things, right? So we are called America's Job Center of California here in this state. For us in particular, we cover Placer, El Dorado, and Alpine County residents. But like I said, there is a center for every single county. And Angel, you brought up SETA, or Sacramento Employment and Training Agency. And I'm going to really quickly share my screen to show you how you can find your local center if you're out of the area. So hopefully, can you guys all see my screen? I'm assuming yes. So if you just Google AJC locator or Career One Stop, but the actual website is careeronestop.org, and then it's local help. You can just put in your zip code. So wherever you are in the United States, if you ever move and you're out of the area and you're needing employment assistance, you just stick in your zip code and it'll pop up the centers that are nearest to you. So no matter where you are, just remember there is additional employment support outside of your ALTAs and your DORs. Let's see, let me stop sharing my screen now. If I can figure out how. Okay, there we go. Yeah. I only do this like every day and I still forget where the buttons are. So like I said, we serve Placer, El Dorado, and Alpine County. And for those of you who don't know where Alpine County is, don't worry. It's tucked away down, like if you look at a map, it's below South Lake Tahoe. But Golden Sierra, we identify two different customer bases. One is job seekers and the other is employers. So we've kind of split our focus. So we really do focus on developing relationships with our local employers so that we can get to know their needs, we can get to know what they're looking for in hiring, what their hiring process is, and we can also help them with accommodations or things that you may need when you start working. And then working with job seekers is our other customer base, which I think you guys are probably more interested in. But our goal is really to support job seekers in finding and retaining meaningful employment. So that employment that's going to make you excited to go to work every day. Maybe not every day. No one's really excited to go to work every day. But it's something meaningful for you, something that's going to give you a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging in your community. That's really our goal. We are not an entitlement service. And what that means is that not everyone will qualify to use our services. So some kind of basic criteria that we're looking for in our one-on-one services, which I'll go over later, are that we're looking for people who are currently either unemployed or underemployed. So if you're currently working in a job and you are earning a good wage and you're using the skills that you have, you probably won't qualify for our program. But if you're working in a job where maybe you're part-time and you want to be full-time, or maybe you just finished a certificate or degree program, but you're working at Kohl's for their seasonal, right? And it doesn't match up with your skills or your educational background, then we could potentially enroll you to help you find that meaningful employment. Another thing that we're looking at is that there's some kind of a barrier to success. So to successful employment. So if you have a disability, that would be a barrier to success potentially. If you don't have any recent relevant work history, that could be a barrier to success. So there's lots of ways that we can work that in. And the other thing that's unique to our program, or not unique, but a little bit different from a Department of Rehabilitation or an Alta Regional, is that we are looking at full-time self-sustaining outcomes, or employment. That's kind of the outcome that we look at. So we do have some wiggle room, but we're really looking to work with people who are looking for that self-sustaining employment. And full-time does not mean 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, sitting at a desk, 40 hours a week. It could mean maybe 32 hours a week. But our goal is to see you, or to see the participant as successful and being able to take care of themselves in whatever way that means to them. And we, like I said, we work very closely with local employers. And so I feel like kind of like a selling point for us is that we do try our best to match individual people with individual employers whenever we can. We do not do any type of placement. So it's not, we don't have a list of jobs where we can send people to, but we do try to match employer or job seekers to the employers that we're currently working with And if we don't, then we try to go out into the community and find employers who would match what your skills are and what your needs are.
Okay. Thanks, Jessica. That's a lot of information. Does Golden Sierra help with training opportunities?
Yes. So I'm gonna backtrack really quick. I had another question in there, and it was talking about career exploration. Is it okay if I answer that one first?
Yeah, the second question.
Okay. So career exploration is such a big topic, right? And I'm a career counselor, so I'm a little bit passionate about it, but I'm not gonna go too overboard, overwhelming you guys with stuff. So career exploration is huge. It's finding out who you want to be when you grow up. And I don't care how old you are, that's the question I ask everyone. Who do you want to be when you grow up? I would want someone to ask me that, and I've been in my career, right? So it's looking at what are your skills, what are your interests, what are your values, your work values. So at Golden Sierra, we try to do a very holistic approach where we are trying to get to know you and trying to allow you, the participant, to get to know yourself better so that you will end up in a career that you're happy with, satisfied with. We offer, well, typically pre-COVID, we have a career center and it's located in Roseville. We are not currently open to the public yet. We are doing some in-person meetings, but it's really on a case-by-case basis. Unfortunately, our in-person career center that had computers and workshops is very, very small, and it just does not lend to 6 feet apart. There's just, I don't want to say impossible, but virtually impossible right now for us to do that. So we're really working hard on ways that we can reopen to the public so that people can come in and use our computers. And we will be announcing that as soon as we have something in place. We do offer workshops. So even though COVID has taken away those in-person workshops, which is hard because it's so much better to be in person and to get to know someone when you're trying to train them. But we are offering them monthly. So we have a second Wednesday of every month. We offer a workshop on some kind of a career development topic. So tomorrow will actually be our interview preparation during COVID workshop at 11 o'clock. And I can send that out to anyone who might want that. You don't have to be in our local area because we're all virtual. So you could be anywhere in the state and view that, and it's via Zoom. And then we also have orientations monthly. We have 2 orientations that we do over Zoom that just gives you a little bit more information about our services, basically what you're getting right now. And then in addition to that, we have a couple of videos up on YouTube. But we're really trying to partner with other agencies and get the word out because so many people are doing Zoom and webinars, and there's no reason for all of us to do the same thing when it's virtual and we can all attend. So if you need assistance finding webinars or finding meetings where they're talking about job development, you can reach out to me for that as well. In addition to that, we help job seekers through referrals. So community partners. For all of us, we're going through such a hard time with COVID. I don't care if you're employed. I don't care if you're unemployed. Everyone across the board is struggling with this new reality that we're all living in. And so our goal is to, even though we're career focused, if you are having a problem with mental health or housing or financial resources, we want to make sure that we are able to connect you with a resource that will help you and meet you where you are. So we can also help with referrals. We used to have we used to have EDD workforce services in our office. And so because of our close relationship and partnership with EDD, we do have some basic knowledge of unemployment and how to help you get connected. So if you're struggling with unemployment, please give us a call and we will try to get you connected to the right person. We can't connect you to unemployment, but we can try to assist you in moving towards the right direction. Let's see, what else do I want to say about that? Okay, I think I'll move on to the next question.
Okay. What supports does Golden Sierra offer to job seekers with disabilities?
Okay, sorry, Kathy, I messed up. I wanted to go back to that other question with training opportunities.
Oh, okay. That's all right. You can go back.
So the question is, does Golden Sierra help with training opportunities? And the answer is absolutely yes. That's kind of our goal, or one of our goals. So we offer really four, but I'm going to talk about 3 different types of training opportunities. One we call a WEX, W-E-X, and I'll try not to use the acronyms too much, but a WEX is a work experience or an internship. So just like if you were in college and you needed to do an internship in order to get your degree, very similar to that, but you don't need to be attached to a school in order to do a WEX or internship. I'm just going to call it an internship, so that way you're not thinking, what in the world is a WEX? With an internship, the cool thing about America's Job Centers is that we are able to, not all of them, we all do it a little bit differently, but for us, we are the employer of record. So if you are a participant and you want to do an internship, and it all works out, then you would be a Golden Sierra temporary employee up to 19 weeks. It can't go any farther than 19 weeks. And we would help you to locate, or we would introduce you to a local employer who's really interested in mentorship, right? That's what we're looking for in an employer. We're looking for an employer who wants to take someone under their wing and train them and guide them not only through like, how do you do the job, but also how do you relate to other employees? How do you have those sometimes challenging interpersonal relationships that come with working on a job site? How do you talk to your supervisor? How are you able to bring up problems? So when we look at internships, we're really trying to find employers who are going to nurture and train and prepare a participant for work in the future. So that's an internship. And then we also have on-the-job training. On-the-job training is, let's say you have this skill base, like you know that this is the job you want to do, you've trained for it or you've prepared for it, but maybe there's something missing. There's some kind of a skill that you don't have that you are going to need a bit of extra time or a bit of extra training from your future employer. So we can assist with helping to find that employer, and then the employer identifies, okay, I think it's going to take about 4 months to get this participant trained in the way that I need them to be to work. So you are actually hired by the employer, and then we reimburse the employer up to 75% of your wages while they're spending that extra time training you. So it makes you as a participant a little bit more marketable, because the employer is able to say, okay, yes, I want to hire this person, and now that I'm going to be reimbursed for, part of the time that I'm spending extra time training, I'll be able to do that. So that's an on-the-job training. And then the last training opportunity that we're able to fund is a training scholarship. So that is a short-term certificate-based, so not typically a degree, although it can be. Typically it's certificate-based training program. And that could be, there's just the whole gambit of training programs. So it could be a medical assistant, it could be your Class A license, it could be project management certificate. There's a lot of different types of certificate-based trainings. And what we look at is, for any of these trainings, is this training going to help you to be successful in employment later, right? That has to be the goal. So, and I always use this dumb joke, so please forgive me, I can't come up with another one. It's stuck, I've been using it too long. But I always tell people, if you come to me and you tell me that your dream is to be a typewriter repairman or a repair person, I'm most likely not going to be able to pay for a training because there's no jobs, right? It's just not a job anymore. If we could find a way to make that a job, then potentially we could. But we really try to work hard with our participants to do labor market research and teach them how to look at the labor market in our area. So what kind of jobs are going to be hiring in the next 5 to 10 years? Is this area growing? Is the wage that you're going to be earning a livable wage? One of the stories I tell is that when I was going to school, I grew up in a family where women typically, traditionally, either stayed at home and raised kids, or they worked in a school system or a library. That was just the way that I grew up historically through my family. That's what women did. So when I started going to school, I thought, great, I'm going to be a VCR repair person. I like that. I'm going to change it. That's much more updated, Jose. I'm going to work in a preschool. I'm going to watch kids. Why not? That's what women do, right? That was kind of the way that I was raised. And so I spent a long time going to school. It took me 8 years to get my bachelor's degree. It took the long road, and I got it in child development. Well, I didn't do any kind of an internship until the very end. And I got a job working in a preschool. And lo and behold, I don't like kids. I mean, I had my own kids, and I love my kids, and I love my family, I love my friends' kids, but spending 8 to 9 hours a day with other people's children, wow, that was the wrong choice for me. And if I would have done some kind of an internship to explore that in the beginning, maybe I would have taken a different path with my education. So my goal, Golden Sierra too, but my goal is really to help people look at, what does this job look like? Working as a preschool teacher, you make barely over minimum wage. You can't really survive off of that in this day and age, right? So anyways, our goal is really to spend time on the front end, trying to help people understand what the choices that they make now, how they could potentially lead off in the future, and how that could help to support them or not support them in the future. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the next question, Kathy.
Okay. And I know there are questions coming into the chat. Do you want to answer those after all your questions?
Either way, it doesn't matter. You choose.
Okay. So how does Golden Sierra partner with other agencies to support job seekers?
So we, and I think that Jose talked a little bit about this. I know Cindy talked about this last week. We all actively try to partner together in any way we can. And one of what I feel is the most important things, and David Mayer is on this call, and I know he would definitely be doing a thumbs up right now, is we call them integrated resource teams. And what that is, it's a fancy term, fancy word for partners and supports of a participant working together to help to support the participant all the way around, right, as a whole person. So we want the participant's family members, we want DOR if there's a case manager, we want ALTA if there's a case manager, us if there's a case manager, maybe if they have a friend who's supporting them in employment, whoever is supporting that individual, we want all of those people to be on the same page. We want us all to come from our own expertise. So maybe I can provide an internship, and Jose at DOR provides maybe the gas reimbursement or clothing and things to help them be successful in that internship. And then maybe ALTA provides another support. And then the family is maybe checking in or helping them get to work on time every day. So we want to really kind of get to know the individual, and then we want all of the individual supports to be able to say, here's how I can support that person. And then we all have clear roles, and we, if that makes sense, if we know what we're doing in order to support this person, and they're not receiving conflicting information from different agencies, or they're not getting their resume reviewed by 3 or 4 different agencies, right? So the goal is to be on the same page to support the individual. So that's our number one thing with partnerships and co-enrollment. You can work with Department of Rehabilitation, and you can work with an America's Job Center, and you can work with ALTA. You can work with all of us at the same time. You can work with us together, or maybe in steps. Maybe you don't need my help right now. You need Jose's help. And then after they're done with maybe the student service piece, maybe then Golden Sierra can step in and help. So that's kind of our goal with partnerships. I talked about referrals before, and so I just want to talk about that again. I think someone had mentioned before, it's not easy to sit there as a participant and get emails with links. Go do this or go do that, right? It's not easy. It wouldn't be easy for me if I was looking for support and someone just sent me an email or phone number of someone. What would help me if I needed help is if I'm picking on you, Jose, because you're right there. At least on my screen you are. What would help me if I needed help and I asked Jose, hey, I really need a connection to this person. What would help me is if Jose reached out to that person and introduced us, right? And really did, because I already have a relationship with Jose. So if he was able to introduce me and let me know how this other potential support person can help me, that would make it so much easier for me to trust that other person, to get to know them, and to allow them to provide me assistance. So that's another, I call it like seamless referral. So it's not just go call this person, go do this. It's doing it jointly. Okay, I'm gonna pop back up, Kathy, to the what supports does Golden Sierra offer to job seekers
Okay.
question. So supports, I've already talked about our funding, like the things that we can pay for. But I want to let you know that Golden Sierra or Sacramento Training Agency, any of the America's Job Centers, we work with anyone who is looking for services, any job seeker. It's not specific to people with disabilities. It's not specific to one target population, but we do have special grants. And one of the special grants that we have right now, and also Sacramento Training and Employment Agency has this as well, is the latest round of the Disability Employment Accelerator Grant. It's not really important as a participant for you to know that or understand that, but what I want you to know is that it's a pot of money that is specifically geared toward helping people with disabilities or students with disabilities who either have a college degree or a college certificate or are going to attain one in the next year and a half, year-ish. It's a pot of money specifically to help that population find and retain meaningful employment. And through that grant, we can do work-based learning. And so work-based learning is the internship piece and the on-the-job training piece. So I just want to let you know also that there are special grants that all of our agencies will receive that will help specific populations, but you don't have to qualify for that grant to receive assistance. One of the things that, let's see, what else do I want to mention? We can help with accommodation assistance. So if you don't know how to ask your employer for an accommodation, if you don't know what accommodation would help you to be successful, if you don't know what referral services are available or how to ask for help, we can also help with that. We can help a little bit with self-advocacy, helping to empower the participant, you, to be your own greatest self-advocate. We do help with that. And another thing I wanted to mention is that we are an employment network with Social Security. You also don't need to know what that is, but basically what that means is if you're on SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSI, Social Security or Supplemental Insurance, we can provide additional assistance to you. So we can provide benefits planning, which is to help you to understand how working will affect or impact your benefits. And oftentimes, most of the time, when we sit down and write it out on paper, even if you were to lose your disability benefits, you're going to be earning more money in the long run. So we can help sit down with you and kind of look at or try to determine what that looks like. We help with job search and career counseling. So things like resume development, interview strategies, assessments, helping you figure out how to navigate the internet. I think Jose mentioned that so many companies now are doing those assessments online. And for those of you who have taken, I think the target assessment is what? I've sat down with people and taken these job assessments, and it's like, what in the world are they looking for? I feel like I'm good at my job, I'm good at career development, but when I go look at those assessments, sometimes I'm baffled, I'm so confused. So I can't imagine as a job seeker who's just sitting there in front of a computer trying to figure out, how do they want me to answer this? How do I answer this? It must be so confusing. And so we can assist with that. And I will say that even though we're not meeting in person, I am in love with Zoom. Zoom is amazing. I am able to meet with my customers or my clients, and we share screens. We do the work together. I've helped people through applying for state jobs on Zoom. We do resume critiques together. We do interview prep on Zoom. So I'm so happy that so many platforms have come up since COVID to help us kind of mitigate the disturbance to our life that COVID has brought. Okay, Kathy.
Okay, it looks like we have about 15 minutes left. So I'm wondering if we want to open it up for the chat, Cindy?
Can I do the last question? How do job seekers get more information regarding services or follow-up questions real quick?
Sure.
It won't take me long. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
There's two ways to contact us. I will share my email. Again, just like Jose, please bear with me. I would say that for our organization, our workload has tripled since COVID. So Sometimes I'm not the fastest at getting back to people, but I promise that I will. But I'm going to give you 2 alternative ways to get a hold of us. So one is on our website, and I'm going to share the screen. So advance. So the website's pretty easy. It's goldensierra.com/advance. And once you get there, it's going to take you through this fun, super fun little exercise where, oh, well, that didn't work. Oh, start over. Here we go. Okay. It's going to ask you 3 questions. What do you need most? Help finding a job, education, resume, information about Ticket to Work. Ticket to Work is the Social Security piece. So you answer that question however you'd like. Go to the next one. Tell us about your employment situation. And the last one is, do you consider any of the following to be a barrier? And then it's going to take you to this page where you can enter in your name, zip code, email address, and phone number. And then either myself or one of our other case managers will reach out to you directly. So this is a really good option for learning more about our services or getting information about our services. The last thing, or the second option, is to call our main office. And I'm going to give you that phone number, and I will also put it in the chat. I apologize, I didn't have any slides. But our phone number is 916-746-7722, and you can leave a voicemail. We have a case manager assigned to check voicemails every day, and then 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a call back that same day. I will say most of us have company cell phones now, but sometimes the number might come up blocked or unavailable. So if you call and leave us a message, just try to answer your phone that day. I know none of us like to do that.
Could you mention that your phone number again?
Yes, it's 916
916
746
746
7722.
7722. All right, thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Sonia. That's all I have.
Okay, great. Cindy, do you have questions in the chat you want to share?
Yes, there's actually a question, well, a couple of them, but I feel like one of Jessica had already touched on regarding how Golden Sierra collaborates with other agencies. So there was one question I feel that it's important for us to address, and it is regarding the out-of-school youth program for families whose students will be out of school soon or are 16 to 24 years of age, or who may be disconnected. Can you talk a little bit about that, if you have any programs or services?
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're asking me. I thought for some reason I thought you were asking Jose. Yes, so we have a special, not a special, I'm sorry. Our funding is kind of split into different ways. There's adult, dislocated worker, and youth. And so that's our primary funding streams. And we get our funding from the Department of Labor. And so our youth program does have fairly specific criteria. So the ages are 16 to 24, but here's the kicker, is they have to be out of school. So if a student is currently still in high school, they wouldn't qualify for a youth program. If they are, it's the summer after graduation and they've applied and been accepted to a community college or whatever college, they don't qualify for a program. So our funding is specifically geared towards serving youth who are not currently attached to an educational system. And then they have to have a significant barrier to employment. So significant barrier to employment could be former foster youth, homeless, single parent, have a disability. There's lots of others, but they do have to have that significant barrier to employment and not connected to an educational system.
This is Angel. I'm the one that asked the question. Can you talk about the services for out-of-school youth program? For many of folks with developmental disabilities, they're not connected after they get a diploma or a certificate, and so they're not going to be going to. You know, I'm also adjunct faculty, and sometimes we get folks with developmental disabilities, but a lot of the times, you know, our kids get lost after K-12. So if you can talk about the services, the out-of-school youth services.
Sure. And I do want to be very, very clear though, because so like I told you guys before, there's different local areas. Every community has this funding. However, every local area determines how they're going to use the funding within a certain set of guidelines. So SETA, or Sacramento Training and Employment Agency, potentially uses their youth funding different than Golden Sierra, and your local area might use it differently. So when I'm speaking to this, I'm only speaking for Placer, El Dorado, and Alpine counties. So what we're looking at is, or the services that we can provide are the same as everyone else. It's the internships, the on-the-job training, the short-term certificate-based like classroom or skills training. But then in addition, there are added supports for youth. So let's say the youth dropped out of high school and they really want to get their GED. Right? The adult schools provides them the training, but you still have to pay for the actual testing. Golden Sierra can then potentially use supportive services to pay for the testing. We can also do incentives with our youth program where, once they reach a certain milestone, we can give them a $100 incentive. We can help with supportive services like school, or clothing, gas, things that will make them successful in their career. So the main difference with our youth program as opposed to our adult program is that there's incentives built in. So there's, you get $100 for doing a financial literacy course, or it's something to help the youth stay engaged that we don't offer our adults.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in here with a poll. We'll still have a few minutes to continue asking questions. So I am going to launch this poll. And I will read it. The first question is, did you learn something about employment supports through Department of Rehabilitation and Career Exploration, so Golden Sierra? Yes and no. And the second question is, are you satisfied with this activity? And the options are yes or no. Thank you. We have about 30 people, 31 so far. Give it just a couple more seconds. Okay, I'm going to end the polling now. All right, so if you are not satisfied, please feel free to follow up with us if there's something we can do better, if there's topics that we can address, questions that you have, please, you're always welcome to follow up. We will be sharing contact information and a recording and the PowerPoints, and so please feel free to follow up if you're not satisfied with this activity.
Hey, Sonia, before we go, I wanted to ask you, where can I find the videos that we do for these weekly presentations on YouTube?
Absolutely. So just let me stop sharing this. So tomorrow, I'll be uploading that today. It takes actually a couple hours for the video to upload. Tomorrow, I'll send out an email to everybody who is on the call today, and it will have a link to it. Okay? And then I'll also include a page that has links to all the other 21 sessions that we've done, because some of them were on employment as well. So absolutely. Go ahead, Cindy, if there was another question.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that David's question regarding how Golden Sierra, or what they do to network with local partners and stakeholder to best serve individuals with barriers to employment is addressed. David, was Jessica's answers sufficient for you?
Yeah, this is Dave. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, Jessica. I was throwing a softball, actually. I was actually the state project advisor for the DEI and the DEA programs for there. And I know that one of the things that Golden Sierra has done is participated in a number of different networking groups that have really helped them to make sure that they know their actual partners and know what they do. And that's kind of where I was just kind of throwing out there. I know that there wasn't a lot of time, so I just wanted to give Jessica an opportunity to talk a little bit about that.
I can be super brief on that. So I couldn't even go through all of the different like groups and organizations that we try to belong to and actively participate in, but we really do actively try to be a part of meetings. And I will say, for those of you who are partner agencies on here, since COVID, I have been able to meet so many more people than I was ever able to meet in person as far as partners go, because we don't have to travel an hour to get to a meeting, right? We can see each other on Zoom. And so I feel like our partnerships have grown exponentially. Just this last week, for those of you who don't know, PERS, Posture Independent Resource Center, services, they hosted a youth transition fair in El Dorado County. And I want to say we had, I don't know, 25 to 30 cars come through. It was a drive-through fair. And so I think we had 10 different tables with partners. And so we try to actively participate in as many things in the community as we can, because you never, sorry, that was my dog, if you heard that. You never know when you're going to meet a partner agency who is going to have a perfect referral who we can then help. So, thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you so much, Jessica. And it looks like David also answered another question, but I just wanted to go ahead and repeat this question for those that called in. Is there an age limit for an individual to get services?
No. Nope, never. Well, okay, I take it back. On the low end, there is. Our adult program is 18 to infinity. Our youth program is 16 to 24. So those are the only, I guess on the younger end, yes, there is an age limit.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And then a question came in from Angel regarding the local plan agreement for competitive integrated employment. Can you speak a little bit about that?
So it's the same as with any of our other programs, right? You know, I don't have a lot of information on that, to be quite honest with you, but I can definitely get back to you, Angel.
Angel, do you mean the local partnership agreement?
I can talk about it a little bit. I used to work for the California Workforce Development Board, and so I was part of the WIOA planning process. I was just asking the question for other folks on the phone.
Okay.
But actually, the Competitive Integrated Employment Blueprint, which folks on the phone can Google and see what that is our statewide strategic plan for competitive integrated employment for people with developmental disabilities. Lays out the statewide partnerships that we have to provide opportunities. Local plan agreements were the second step to that strategic planning process, where local areas we're going to get together in partnerships. And so Golden Sierra has one, and also the greater Sacramento area, so SETA is included in that, has one. And they talk about the different partnerships that folks have, whether that's with regional centers, whether that's with community-based organizations, community colleges, and on, to create these opportunities for people with developmental disabilities in those local areas. So I encourage folks on the phone to go to the Competitive Integrated Employment website on the California Health and Human Services Agency webpage, and I can try to link that page on the comments or send it to Sonia. But I think it's really important for families and persons with developmental disabilities to understand what their options and opportunities are and what partnerships are already happening in their local area.
Thank you so much, Angel, for that information. So I just wanted to piggyback on that. That's actually a local partnership agreement that the Regional Center, DOR, and also local education agencies have developed. And we have developed about, I want to say 7 or 8 in this region. And I know that Golden Sierra is actually one of the agencies that was identified as a partner in the local partnership agreement. And in fact, the Regional Center and DOR has been in contact with Sacramento Employment and Training Agency to create some paid internship opportunities for the individuals that we mutually serve.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm going to launch our final poll right now. Hopefully you can see that. It says, after this activity, do you know more about Department of Rehabilitation Services and career exploration and how to access these supports? Yes or no? And the final question is, after this activity, do you believe that you can get support to get a job that will pay you at least minimum wage? And it looks like we have a number of students and transition age students, and so we welcome everybody to answer these questions, and we're glad that you could be here. We have had a lot of interest from transition age classes, and we're trying to figure out ways to have them be able to participate on Zoom. everything we can do to support those classes, please feel free to reach out. If we need to follow up and do a Zoom presentation specifically for a transition class, we're happy to do that. And I know Cindy and Kathy and all of our guests are interested in helping out if we need to target a specific district or a specific class that maybe can't get onto a Zoom call like this. Okay, I'm going to end the polling and share the results. And go ahead, Cindy, is there another question?
Actually, I don't think so. I think we have addressed all of the questions. Yeah, I think at this point, if anyone has any questions, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
I got a question. I'm just curious, since COVID-19 is kind of stopping us from getting jobs, so I know there's a lot. There's some people that wear masks, some who have computers. What are the types of jobs that have computer jobs and jobs where you're still working outside with masks? Just curious about that.
Are you asking what kind of jobs are we seeing are available right now?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, that's exactly. So I'm a little nervous.
No, you're fine. It was a good question. So personally for our area, we are seeing a lot of hiring. I know that there's not a lot of jobs, but we're seeing a different thing in our local area. There are the primary industries that are actively hiring and really, really need people are things like manufacturing, construction, inventory, a lot of manufacturing though, and a lot of innovative companies. Like there's Air Thermal International up in Auburn. They actually work with Tesla to make the little, oh, I don't even know what they're called, little doodad gadgets that go in a Tesla. That's not what they're called, obviously, but lots of companies that are doing really cool things, and they are actively hiring. We are also seeing a lot of customer service positions and work from home positions. The state of California is hiring a lot, and they're primarily work from home positions as well right now. So we're seeing an active increase in different areas. I don't know, Cindy, Jose, do you guys have other?
You know, just to piggyback on what you said, there's a lot of Amazon factories around this area. They're constantly hiring. Warehouse. I was actually talking to a gentleman. This was right when COVID started. He was working at the Walgreens warehouse, and I just, for whatever reason, assumed, oh, you guys are probably downsizing or laying off people. And he said, no, we're actually hiring. People are ordering a lot more stuff. The shelves at Walgreens are completely bare. They're working us some, 12-hour days and so forth. So I was kind of in the same boat as mostly everybody, thinking that, oh, COVID, oh my God, people are losing their jobs, which people were, but there were opportunities, and we just had to, okay, let's, obviously there's certain things happening and there's people losing their jobs, but what industries are in high demand now? And truck driving, everything that Jessica said. So it was kind of interesting to see those job postings, caretakers, CNAs kind of thing. Obviously there's a huge risk in those type of positions, but those were some of the jobs that were available as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that we've seen just now is that because education is huge right now too. So many job postings are coming out. So many educational systems are approaching us because there's a lot of teachers who can't or don't want to go back to teaching in person, or they're finding teaching online to be daunting for whatever reason. So there has been a lot of turnover in education. So if you have an educational background, that could be another good avenue.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Jessica. And David Einhorn shared in the chat that FedEx and UPS is also hiring. And I've been seeing a lot of hiring opportunities for retail businesses. They're ramping up for the holiday season. Okay, does
Okay,
anyone
is
else
there-
have any other questions?
I have a question regarding DOR support for students who are community college bound, let's say. So in addition to helping them find programs, are there supports for the kids while they're in college, or is that just through the individual colleges?
That's a great question, Jen. It really depends on the services you're requiring. If a student is going to community college, well, if a person is going to community college, then we need to look at where they're at. So they could still technically be in our student services program, but if they are, if they have a good idea of what they want to do, if they want to get a certificate, an associate's, or they want to transfer over to a four-year college, then I would strongly recommend them applying for the VR program. And then, you know, designating an IPE, which is Individual Plan for Employment, so their career goal. Once that's developed and when that's been approved, then we can start with a lot of different services. And some of those services can relate directly to them being successful at the training level. So if they need assistive technology, if they need a voice recorder, if they need certain things to make the training a little bit easier for them, then we could possibly assist. This kind of ties into what we were just talking about earlier. One of our new vendors is called BSI out of the East Bay. And while it's a multinational company internationally, they have a kind of section of their company that deals with ergonomic evaluations for workers who are now having to work from home. So tied into that is for a lot of these students who now have to go to school at home, maybe they don't have the proper desk or the proper computer to work at home. Because of their disability, they find it very difficult maybe to work on a desk like the one I'm working at. You know, if I had a bad back or anything, this would be totally uncomfortable. So with these ergonomic evaluations, we can get the results and then we can actually help the student obtain the materials, assistive technology, Dragon Naturally Speaking, comfortable desk, anything they need, anything that's recommended. So Jen, I don't know specifically what kind of service you're talking about, but there is a lot of things that the Department of Rehabilitation can do to assist students who are going to school. And it could be anything from books to school supplies. If a student is taking stats class and the professor says you need a T184 calculator that costs about $150, you know, the Department of Rehab could possibly help with that.
Thank you, Jose. Cindy, any other questions to wrap it up?
It looks like there isn't any more questions coming from the chat.
Okay, well, I really want to thank Jose and Jessica for joining us today and giving us this information. Cindy, thanks for your collaboration. The State Council and always enjoys collaborating with Alta Regional Center and you. So as you know, you guys can contact both Jessica and Jose beyond this. We will be sending out this information. It will be on our website, the recorded version of this, and also on Facebook. So you'll be able to get it that way, and reach out to Jessica and Jose if you have additional questions. And we hope to see you in the next couple of weeks at
Absolutely.
our chat.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.